Hello and welcome again. We have a nice slice of wasted show that's tossed out the window. So this week we will not be having a lore card because that is what just happened. Where the source on Rhino's audio was screwed up again, and I didn't catch it before we started the show because I was in a rush to get started. That is on me. I'm sorry about that. We will be God damn it. Uh
It'll be a little bit shorter. It's no big deal. So there's a lore card, and we can just discuss it a little bit now. Yeah, there was some good meat and potatoes that we got into, but it's okay.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
so
We
so
got an
let's
hour.
put it
We'll
I'll
still
put
got
it
an
back on
hour.
screen. I'll put it back on screen. So it's lethophobia, and it's the fear of oblivion, the fear of non-existence, and the Ahamkara have it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
they, they
So
yeah,
there's
here
this idea that there's this idea that they're afraid of dying and not existing, and they feed off of human desires and wishes, and that's really their life force. And at the end of everything, um, what does that mean as far as the Ahamkara goes? It's like what Anon was pointing to is they know they're in a video game and they know they need us, and we don't particularly feel like we need them. But the other counter argument to this is alethophobia, which is a concept that's used even more, and it's this idea of being scared of the actual truth, right, or the truth and facts of knowing something. So lethophobia being used here is interesting because it wrestles with the Ahamkara. It's a weapon we get from, Mara and Riven uh, activity. And the flavor text comes from a book,
mm,
and it's a poem from a book, and it's called the Vanity of Human, or the Vanity of Human Wishes is basically what it is.
hmm
And it's this concept that no matter what we do in this life, at the end of everything, it could just be our own fate of our own fool, fate of the fools, type of concept. So it's the vanity of human wishes. If you want to look it up, it
yeah.
delves into various aspects of human life, but it's the pursuit of desires and this inevitable disillusionment that follows.
Wonderful. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That is completely on me. Like of all the, like, I understand that we're not the most professional, but of all the things that, like, I do
Yeah.
try to always do is I always try to make sure that everything is ready as it can be before the show, and that was the one thing I didn't do. Um what I did do is to get 3 weeks of notes about this season so far, and we're gonna rush through these because what I said previously, I'll say again. I have a
Okay.
theory, and I think it's a good one. I know you are gonna love it. I absolutely know you're gonna love it. And I brought it up to my clan this morning, and they had mentioned a clanmate of mine had kind of like springboarded on it a little bit, and I feel like they put it they made it their own and put it in much better uh full words, like they
Sure.
really helped improve it. um
Yeah.
and so let's get into week 1 of Season of the Wish. So we make our way to the Dreaming City to summon Riven's spirit, but the soul device of Vex are trying to stop us. Once we summon her, she refuses to grant our wish, but offers to grant it in exchange for gathering her hidden eggs. So we go to the helm. Mara has this whole setup, just extremely what's a good word for it? Just like I don't know a better word than extra, but I don't want to say extra. But yeah,
Yeah.
she really made herself feel at home. And so throughout these weeks, they've been talking about the Dreaming City curse a few times. So Mara brings up the Dreaming City curse and confirms there's no breaking it, then sends us to on the path to get the 15th wish granted. And so the 15th wish has been like this thing for a while now. And for the longest time, it was my belief, I feel like pretty solid belief, that the 15th wish was the last wish, which was the wish that Riven granted to Savathun that created the Dreaming City curse. I
Uh-huh.
guess that's no longer the case. And so then we have our first mission of the season. We go into an echo of the Dreaming City, and this is Riven's lair. It's filled with traps, and when we get to the end, there is no egg to retrieve. And so this echo is actually also the location that we go into in the coil missions. So what are your thoughts about the coil missions? We'll pause there for a minute.
Yeah, sure. So, first off, like the coil as an activity is pretty fun. I
Hmm.
like it. At first, it took me a second. Like the first two tries, I was like, "Why does everybody say they like this so much?"
Yeah, I feel the same.
Because I was like, "What is? There's like nothing here." It just felt so weird. Like, okay, yeah, we run around, we avoid a few traps, and then we go, and then it's done. But I didn't realize that you got to keep playing because it just keeps going more and more and more. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. Now I'm
Mm,
seeing. And it gets more difficult and stuff. And if you get more pots, you get more points, and then it's like even more at the end. Blah blah blah.
hmm.
So as far
It's
as
a
an
it's a loot
activity,
filled activity for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot of loot. It's a lot of. It's a good place to go get stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
so
It's
that's out of the
it's
way.
it's the type of activity that is like if they never did crafted weapons, that activity would be like, "Oh my god. This is the great you're just
Right. Yeah.
filled with
Yeah.
loot and you're like, I got so many
Yeah.
guns. I might not have gotten the best one, but I got so many to like look at and maybe I got one that's a little bit better and maybe I didn't and
Yeah.
that's fine cuz I'm going to run another one. I'm going to get a bunch more guns." So it's a
And I
it's
think
a
that I
go on.
think that's another thing too is some of the guns that are coming out of this activity, like you get from this activity,
Mhm.
with specific roles, they're really good.
Are there? Good to know.
Yeah, there's a few, there's a couple that are really good. I don't think a lot of people are picking up on that.
I
I
mean, I
mean,
feel like they are.
there's definitely a lot of YouTubers that'll be like, "Oh, get this one, you got to have this one,"
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But for the most part, as far as players population goes as a whole, like I just don't feel like a lot of. I don't think there's enough attention on that
Hmm.
specifically.
I think it's
Or
just
like
be
on,
I think it's because when you have like your arsenal already like fleshed out and like
yeah,
really
yeah,
curated to you, it
you
doesn't
don't want to
matter
change it.
what they
Yeah,
bring in. It's like, yeah, that's
yeah,
good. I already have good. You
yeah,
know, it's not better.
yeah,
It's just very good.
yeah.
Uh,
Man, it's just right back to it. It's just
mm.
like that whole like, what is the value that we're placing on everything?
And that's why
You
we
know?
used to have power levels.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that like dark below can't use anything from vanilla anymore. That's all left behind, and it's just like,
right,
yeah,
right.
shit.
Yeah,
After we do not come back with an egg, we get a holoprojector message from Petra, and she informs us that Riven's clutch has been dispersed across the ley lines. Remember those? Those are fun. And
yeah.
the Techians don't know how this happened, but they're able to predict where they'll be. And so for
Hmm.
weeks now, it's been a question of who caused this. And there's like a lot of back and forth that like Mara has actually caused this. And the writing, I'm going to kind of preview some of my negative emotions between like week 1 and week 2. The
Okay.
writing kind of goes back on itself a little bit. And it felt like two people were writing the story and they were kind of writing it in different directions. So it butts heads a little bit or
Okay.
and maybe it's just because it didn't have the full room to breathe. But I did play week one, and then week two. So I don't know how much more it really needed. But in any case, so then we get to mission polygamy. My handwriting is awful.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
we run a mission in the same location as the seasonal activity with some banter from Riven and Petra. It ends with Riven asking if this is just bait on the hook, which is weird because she needs our help.
Yeah.
Like we're doing this
Huh.
for her, and she's going, "Is this just bait on the hook?" And it's like, well, you fucking tell us. We're here for you. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I know
Oh,
ultimately we're here to get the 15th wish granted, but
yeah, and don't
you
forget,
know.
remember in the first opening mission, Petra and the Crow were talking to each other.
Hmm.
But like it's been a while since Petra's actually talked to Crow, and now Crow knows he used
Yeah.
to be Aldrin, and so Petra knows, and she has this line. So like, remember when we always were like, "Who shot Crow or who shot Aldrin?
Hmm.
Is it the Guardian or Petra?" She says she shot him.
Oh, really? I missed that. That's a
Yeah,
great catch.
yeah, yeah. So I got that when we were playing. I was like, "Oh no, wait, what? She
Yeah.
shot him?" Because we were always wrestling with the fact that our Guardian shoot Aldrin
Yeah.
or did Petra?
I like that they made it sound, for those who didn't get to play Forsaken, at the end when you have like Aldrin down in front of you, the screen goes black and the gunshot is heard, and it's a mixture of the Ace of Spades gunshot as well as the Vestian Dynasty sidearm, both of which are
Yeah,
what you and Petra were wielding, and so it's kind of left to be like, who did it? And there was a bunch of people who were like, I fucking did it,
yeah.
and I was not one of those people. I was like he's paying for his crimes. His crimes were against the reef. Killing Kate is fucked up, but his like
Right,
crimes were against the reef. That's Petra's call to
right.
make. That's not my call to make.
So that
Uh
was what brought me that was what brought me back to it, is because like what you said, it made me reflect on it. Are we just bait on a hook? Like, was that, were
okay.
we debated in this whole thing anyway?
And so then we have the Mara Osiris conversation. Were
Oh,
you
that's a
able
good
to
one.
find this conversation?
I couldn't get it.
You couldn't find it,
Like,
right? You were like, where the hell am I supposed
no.
to go? I thought it
Yeah.
was glitched. I could not understand it. I saw people, all the comments like on Reddit were very unhelpful because they were like, just go to the right down the stairs. And I'm like, I know where the fucking room is.
It's
I
underneath the damn. Yeah, no.
underneath the
Underneath. Yeah,
room. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I felt
I
so
got,
stupid. I was running around the top, like, and I kept going back to
yeah.
Riven, and I kept
Yeah, it was
going back in
back
the
and
room.
forth. I was like, surely there's a doorway somewhere in Riven's room that'll
I
bring
even
me
went up,
the correct way.
I even went upstairs to the war table, and that little
Yep.
scannable that we
Yep.
always scan when we're going by, that's nothing. I went and
Yep.
scanned that again.
Yep. I was doing all of that too. Very frustrating. Uh
Uh,
Kudos for Bungie for making the impossible to solve puzzle. It was very fun.
yeah,
Mara doesn't trust using Riven. Neither does she trust using a Savathun wish. Osiris has been studying the Veil to try to learn how to follow the witness. Which
yeah, yeah,
solution will come first, Riven or Osiris? Who knows? Um,
hmm,
it's a lot of this is just like is going to be repeating, which is my
yeah,
biggest gripe of seasonal story, where they kind of just keep telling you the same things. Um,
yeah,
so we go back to the spirit of Riven and have a conversation with her. She knows we're preparing a contingency plan and doesn't mind because she doesn't trust Mara either. Riven explains Ahamkara bargains as mutual benefits, but then threatens us if we plan to break her half of the bargain. I don't mind that
hmm,
you're trying to figure a way out of not using my wish, that you're bait on the hook, but don't you dare fucking do it. Like what?
right,
It's a lot of confusion for me. It's gotten better in this week, in week 3. Then we have our final week radio message, which they don't tell you about. So just as a reminder, when you're done with the week and it says wait for next week, just go to the radio right away. The radio is there for
yeah,
you.
yeah. You get to
And
hear it.
yeah. So then we have a Crow radio message, and he's confronting Osiris about not trusting Riven. and for those who don't know, again, Forsaken, Aldrin was manipulated by Riven. Uh, Crow now has Aldrin's memories. So the whole Forsaken story is basically that Riven was manipulating Crow, pretending to be Mara, speaking to him with Mara's voice, pushing him down this path of effectively creating the Scorn and then destroying parts of the reef and unlocking
Yeah,
Riven and like all this shit. So he's got some trauma with Riven. It's very understanding uh as to why she's not trusting him. Why he's
yeah.
not trusting her.
Wh-
Sorry, got that backwards.
no worries. But yeah,
Uh
that's a good parallel to know too, because of the dungeon, and what's happening in the dungeon with the scorn. I mean,
mhm.
ultimately, Uldren like was integral in creating the scorn.
Which actually gets brought up on week 3 as well, which is
Yeah.
fun. And so now that we have week 1 complete, I do want to kind of pause before we get into week 2. Um, so a lot so far has just kind of been like rehashing the events of Forsaken. This is the first
Yeah.
time that I feel like a story got reskinned. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah, I feel the same thing. I feel the same thing. I also feel like as far as the story goes in Forsaken, it was very okay, so Forsaken on its own was magnificent, wonderful,
Yeah,
awesome.
it
And
was.
and the lore was fantastic. That
Also
being
agree.
said, I don't think most people were digesting Forsaken and the lore as heavily as they should have been. I
I
know
agree.
for one, Bife, as a whole, his YouTube channel was pretty dormant at that time. So maybe he's like a major source for a lot of people's lore content. Even Mylan at the time was wrestling with a lot of the like, do I put this out on content and whatnot. So a lot of the big
Mhm.
people, I just bring them up in particular because a lot of the big people weren't covering it. And I was sitting there reading it like, dang, there's so
Well,
much crazy stuff happening. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I think why they might not have been covering it is because we were able to read ahead, and they were feeling
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
moral obligation to not spoil
To
it.
not do it, yeah. But then
And
the
that,
problem
yeah,
was the next stuff came out by that time, and so we just kind of glossed all over it, right? We just
yeah,
ran to the next season.
yeah, and
Yeah,
that was another thing. Forsaken was the first season, and it was Season of the Outlaw. No one calls it
yeah.
Season of the
No,
Outlaw. But then it was Black Armory, which was Season of the
yeah,
Forge, and
yeah,
exactly by the time we were in, I think Season of the Drifter, which was the third season, we were still getting Forsaken story content, and
yep.
it was
What?
such a long drip feed.
It
So
really was.
yeah, that was something as
And
great as
then
so
season
much was.
and then season of the hunt, it was just like, why are you guys not covering this stuff? I mean, there's
Oh,
so
Season
much,
of the Hunt.
you know what I
Jeez,
mean though? Like God.
it went undying.
There
Wait, it went Drifter Opulence Undying. You jumped a
yeah,
whole fucking
opulence
year and
was
a
such a
half.
big that's what I'm saying. Opulence
Oh,
was such
okay.
a big event, and then all of a sudden season of the hunt came out and people were like, eh. I'm like, no, there's stuff here we need to talk about too. I felt like
Undying
there were some
Undying came after Opulence.
no, I'm just saying by the time season of the hunt came out, people were
Oh,
not,
okay.
it was like Forsaken all over again. Like people weren't talking about the
Oh.
lore.
Oh, okay.
It
Okay.
was like another little dark spot
Yeah.
of just not talking about it.
Yeah, and then like last season when we're seeing Wrathborn and everyone's like, why are there Fallen fighting for Savathun or for Xivu or Wrath? And it's like they're Wrathborn. Did you
What's
not
that?
did you not play a whole season where everything in the fucking world was a Wrathborn?
Right,
Um
right. So to say
yeah.
it like you said it, so to say that they're reskinning the lore, no,
I feel
I
bad
agree with.
for coining that.
Okay, but that's okay. But it's a good. I mean, we're not using it in a mean way. It's kind of like an idea, right? So
Yeah.
when they're reusing the lore, or bringing it back and stretching it out like they have,
Well,
this is a thing.
I
This is
think
a thing.
there's a difference between like bringing it up again and saying like, "Hey, remember these events that happened?"
Yeah,
and being like, "This season is kind of just rehashing these events piece
yeah,
by piece by piece by piece to the point where we're actually running a blind well,
yeah,
running one of the curse weeks. Like we're
yeah.
doing the things that were in Forsaken that have actually been pulled out
Oh
of the
my God,
game."
people were so mad when they went right back to the blind well at the very
Yep.
beginning. They were like, no, no.
And Budgie had to be like, "You're only going to do it one more time. Don't worry."
Yeah, they had to come out and say it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I do kind of get it because the blind well isn't a free activity. You have to use the currency,
Right,
and not many people
right.
had those currencies to spare, like
Oof.
me. So I went in there. I had my unstable charges, and I was like in and out. I got it done in two. But I can imagine there were some people, unlucky people, who only had tier one charges, and they were just in there getting fucking 10% or 20% completions. Who knows how fucking low that shit was?
I had so much stacked up in my inventory that I never deleted that I went in and it was done the first time.
Yeah, everyone said I was a fool. Who's laughing now?
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
uh, so then that will bring us to week two.
Yep.
Week two opens up. Riven. Riven informs us that another egg is approaching and asks us to question why they were all
Dun,
cast
dun,
to the ley
dun.
lines. And she throws Mara under the bus as a manipulator capitalizing on our situation. And Riven just wants her kind to live on. What does Mara, and Riven's quoted saying, stand to gain? And it's like, it's weird that she's saying that because what Mara stands to gain is the final shape not happening.
Right.
Like,
Like it's
of
almost like a duh.
yeah, it's and it's like it's because it's like I know it's like a common like, oh, they're secretly the villain or like uneasy ally type, where it's like, but what are they getting out of this? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, when your common goal is stopping the destruction of absolutely everything, that's kind of what they're getting out of it, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
what more can she get out of it? Better relations with humans. Like the reef is in the city now. We have actual
Right.
reef representation in the city. She's a full ally now. She's not even an uneasy ally. This might have worked like a year ago, where it was like, oh, do we trust her? What are our thoughts about Mara? But now it's like, no, we're in it with Mara. She has proven herself to be on our side.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird too, because
It's
then you
just
got to like wrestle with the concept that, she's just like impossibly old compared to
yeah,
everybody else. And like, I don't know. It's
and
just crazy.
it's kind of just like doubting Eris at this point, where it's like, how much does she need to do? You know? And so we have our mission tautology
Yeah.
next. And
Yeah.
Mara and Riven butt heads with us in the middle. Mara and Riven butt heads with us in the middle. Riven is pissed about Mara looking for a different path to getting what we want. So Riven is letting Taken come after us. Something that Riven could
Yeah.
have prevented, I guess. But again, Riven was okay with us taking a different path in week one. Why is she mad now? Like that's where I'm like a little bit confused with these first
Yeah.
2 weeks. Riven seems to be lying about a lot, which of course she is. First, she's okay with Mara looking for another way. Next, it's cheating her out of a bargain. First, it's Mara hid the eggs, so we'd rely on Mara. But then why go on the different path? So Riven's basically saying Mara's the one who cast out the eggs that she didn't know existed onto the ley lines, but she doesn't actually want you to get them. She wants you to listen to Osiris, but she's making
Huh?
you get them so that you owe her a favor, so that she's the one who's Riven's basically saying the only person who can help you get the eggs is Mara, and
Yeah.
that makes her suspicious. That makes her the one who cast them out. And she's continuously helping us get the eggs. It's not like she's like, I'm the only one who can do this, and I'm not doing it. That'd be one thing if that's what
Right.
Mara's angle was. But she's like, and we have to do it. And it's like, I don't want to do it, but we have to do it. I'm gonna do it. Let's just hope Osiris is faster than we are at getting these eggs. And it's just like, yeah, Mara's
Yeah.
fucking on our side. Like, I don't know. Maybe other people, I don't want to be mean and say maybe other people are stupid, but like maybe other people are falling for this from Riven. And so
uh,
after the mission we
what
have her
else does
holo
she have to do to prove herself?
Yeah. How many Awoken did she let die in the Taken
Oh
King
my
just to keep
god.
us
For
safe?
real.
And
For
all of her
real.
harbingers except for one.
Yeah, she exploded her Harbibis into the dreadnought.
Yeah. So then we have her holo projector with Petra. Harbingers can traverse the ley lines, and Mara has a personal harbinger. And so, actually, about that, I
Yep.
remember them saying in the Taken King that they sent the last of their harbingers, implying all of them into the dreadnought. But now
Yep.
we're getting told there's one more, and it's Mara's personal harbinger. Do you recall that as well?
I do. I remember that in the lore it was these that was basically just like you said,
Yeah.
uh these are there's a finite amount of harbingers and these
Yeah.
were all of them. But
Yeah, right?
I do remember something though
Weird.
saying that there was one left just for because there was a line or something about we sent
I,
forward all the harbingers but we have to keep one, because the one help
okay.
the other ones go forward or something like that.
See, I remember them saying that she was sending all the harbingers into the dreadnought, but that they were going to lay eggs or something so that they could grow new
That was
ones.
Yeah, so that was the that was the thing that we the community kind of came up with, right? Because
Is it?
well, yeah, because okay, so originally we didn't know what the harbingers were doing,
We still don't.
supplanting, because that was the word, or there was a word that was similar to supplant, and so we
Okay.
were like, okay, the harbingers were supplanted into the dreadnought for what reason? Because
Oh.
that's how Mara came back.
Hmm.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
In any
So anyway,
case, maybe there's a hiccup. Maybe it's on us. Maybe it's on Bungie. Mara has one harbinger left. Hooray! She has a personal harbinger and can adjust the course of, and this harbinger can adjust the course of the next egg, but it needs a starlight lodestone, whatever the fuck that is.
right. So
Uh,
that's a word. So I looked those two up. They don't exist. It's basically one word that was split into two words so
mhm.
that you could get an idea of what they're talking about. There is a word called a lodestar.
Okay.
And so a lodestar, so real quick, what they mean by that is we can look it up real quick because I will butcher it. But a lodestar is ding ding ding. Um basically, oh crap, here it is.
I'm sorry. I don't
Lodestar.
mean to. I don't mean to cut you. I feel
Yep,
like I
yep,
should
yep.
cut you off. You know, lodestones are a real thing.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
but what I'm getting at is there's two words that are being used here on purpose because lodestone is like it's like a
Like a
mining
magnet.
thing.
It's a natural
Yeah, yeah,
magnet.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a natural magnet that, and so there's this idea of the wrestling with the dark and that even came up in the veil containment, by the way.
Wait,
Oh my God. That
what?
just came up in the veil containment too. Oh crap. Wait a
Is there
second.
new
I'm
veil
sorry.
containment?
I just spiraled. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, no, I mean
It was
it
old
new?
veil
But
containment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it came up in the veil containment, veil containment. There was a thing between Nimbus and Osiris.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm doing this on our podcast. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay,
took
here it is.
starlight lodestone just to mean fancy paracausal magnet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. That's
Okay.
exactly what it is. we'll just leave it at that because I won't butcher the show with some long-winded lore. But anyway, they're two separate things, but they're also the same thing. It's neat because, like, if you think of Mara in a cosmic sense with ley lines in the universe and being able to traverse this parallel existence on these ley lines, with her Techians and being able to, like, you know, anyway, it's really cool because they're two words, the starlight and the lodestone, and if you put them together, you've got the lodestar, which is also another cosmic, um, you know, thing. Anyway, this goes back to veil containment because there is okay. So Osiris says Chioma Essie was researching the entanglement of light and dark without fully understanding either. Our
Okay.
ghosts are linked to the light of the traveler. Then how was the witness able to, on numerous occasions, communicate through them? Nimbus says, "Is this about the magnets thing, the parallel energy fields, right?" Osiris says, "Very good. In areas of the darkness, the witness is able to create a link, not unlike what it created with the veil at the traveler." And then he goes on to say that the Vex are able to hack the Cloud Arc, or Nemesis says the Vex are able to hack the Cloud Arc. Osiris says, "I believe that connection may not be one-sided. I believe that our ghosts may be able to leverage this connection against it." And then Nimbus says, turn the enemy's weapon against them. Well, that sounds great, but how? And then Osiris says, "I don't know." but
Okay.
but but that's where we're at right now with this season because we're trying to figure out, or Osiris is trying to figure it out before it's too late.
Yeah. And I mean,
But the magnet,
based on
but
week 3, it's not working.
yeah, exactly. But the magnet things, that's where that's good because we're on the right track right there.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like when they tried to take the veil and bring it to the traveler, it yeeted the traveler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh, so yeah, we're told we need a starlight lodestone, which is fancy paracausal magnet naturally occurring.
exactly. Yeah.
And Petra compares the state of the Dreaming City and its curse to the final shape. How everyone is kind of stuck in what they're doing, and it is similar. It is also very different. But I do see the comparison being made. So to get the Starlight Lodestone, we have to run the Chamber of Starlight Lost Sector. Chamber of Starlight Lodestones, I'm imagining, is the full name. Uh and so Petra reminisces in the Lost Sector about one of the rituals she'd been a part of there. When we finish the Lost Sector, she mentions that the boys will actually the boss will actually return. Whether this is due to the Dreaming City curse or the fact that they're taken, however, is unknown. So that's what I thought. That was something that I wanted to make a note of. What do you think it is? Because we have very few instances in which bosses actually return. People used to think, like back in Destiny 1, Vault of Glass, for example, that when we fight Atheon, he comes back because they like rewrote time so that he's back. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, when
Yeah.
we fought Atheon, he's dead forever.
Right.
The reason you can fight him a second time is because it's a video game, and it would be
Right.
boring if it was only once.
Right.
Uh,
I, I
but in this,
still I still do like I still like the idea that when we're in the Vault of Glass, like, so all of that, when we're in the Vault of Glass, all of that is true. But like I like the idea that uh there have been so many attempts at taking down Atheon that there's just random fragments of little bitty ghosts floating in the
Mhm.
air and stuff like that. I like those little ideas. Those are
Yeah,
cool. Or like when people said the what were they the what are they called,
the Templar,
dang it, yeah, and the
the
harpies that were,
Oracles, the
yeah, no, the
Supplicants.
harpies, they thought the harpies thought the harpies were taken. Those were cool little ideas. Yeah, at one time they thought the harpies in the what were they called?
I have no
You
idea.
know, the things that look at you and you die. They write you out of existence.
Oh, the Gorgons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The
people
Gorgon's
did
maze.
think they were taken. You're right,
Yeah.
because of the Taken Hydra had the same color scheme that was also
Yeah.
found in the Gorgon's maze.
Yeah. I like those little ideas.
Yeah. Man, I forgot about the Gorgons. I haven't run Vault of Glass in fucking forever.
It's been a minute.
Um, so after we run the Lost Sector, there's a Crow and Petra conversation. Crow is very upset about striking another bargain with an uneasy ally. Crow talks about his Aldrin memories and how Petra manipulated him, or not Petra, I'm sorry, about how Riven manipulated him into creating the curse. Petra reassures Crow that Riven, anyone, is worth, or that reassures Crow that working with Riven with anyone is worth whatever risk it means, whatever the risk is, if it means stopping the witness in the final shape. Sorry that was so hard for me to read. Uh, then we have a hollow message from Osiris, where Osiris shares his new knowledge about the veil. Osiris knows what the veil did in creating the portal that the witness went through, but not how to do it again. And we
Hmm.
have our Riven conversation, where Riven tells us that the next eggs will be harder to get, and that Mara and Aldrin's ambition is why she stayed with them so long. And she's quoted saying, I knew from the first moment I set eyes on a light bearer that your kind would change everything for the Ahamkara. And that's something I oh I okay. Well, I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna come back to that.
Okay.
And so if you missed it last week, I'm sure you got it this week. But last week we had our radio message from Shax, and
Yeah.
so I am a huge fan of this theory, and
Yeah.
I I am positive it's wrong. Uh, but I'm not giving up on it. That Shax is Lord Shax is actually a reincarnated Shakespeare.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it's Shax. So like he woke up in front of his grave, and his grave was broken. So it's Shaks Shax, and he's like, oh, I guess that's my name.
Shakespeare. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
That is
and
hilarious.
so when you have this radio message, it reads like Shakespeare. It's here he is fucking like, speaking. And
Yeah.
so Shakespeare writes a poem to Mara, begging her to bring him to her side once again, confessing his admiration, blah 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 blah. Just really piling it
Like pouring
on.
it on thick.
Yeah.
And what's funny about this is it's really kind of playing into the whole community trying to ship Mara and Shax together because of the helmet stayed on
Which
lore.
has been debunked already. And this
Yeah,
made
yeah,
me go, "Oh, wait, what?"
exactly. Yeah,
And so then Mara rejects him just flat out and
yeah.
says Riven, he doesn't even sound like that. And I'm like, like I was had. That
Yeah,
was
me too.
amazing. I was
Yeah, it was
completely
good.
blown away. And so Riven starts laughing and changes her voice, and she offers instead to do someone closer to Mara,
Mm,
implying
hmm.
sure Ido, which Mara gets
Yep.
really fucking pissed
Really
about.
pissed off. Yeah.
And
Because
so
like at the heart of it, that was a very intimate moment between Shax and Morrow. Shax was basically reading the Tempest to Morrow,
mhm,
which was in honor of Sure that she was lamenting the loss
mhm.
of. So anyway,
And so the reason I say like I feel like it's not ever going to be true that Shax is Shakespeare is because he was speaking like Shakespeare, and Mara said he doesn't even sound like that, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
that was I was
But I
like,
like it.
when I heard it, I was like, I knew it, I fucking knew it, I fucking knew it. I heard him just like being Shakespeare, and I was so excited. He doesn't even
Well,
sound like that dreams crushed.
I personally do love it though. That's funny and awesome. Well, you know, Shax is a real thing though, right? Like in mythologies and stuff
No.
like that. Yeah, so Shax without the extra X, as we know it in English language, is a demon that brings forth all the other demons from hell.
Oh
And
shit.
the only way to get Shax to do your bidding is to draw a circle on the ground around him, her slash demon, and to make them do whatever you want to do.
Fascinating. I wonder how that's ever
Yeah,
going to come into play.
exactly. Because you think about him, he's still a warlord, and he's sitting there in the vanguard, uh, affiliated with us, and he's totally super chill, and everybody loves him, and he does really fight for us and do whatever thing. But what's above him?
Ahamkara.
Yeah,
And
the
in any
Ahamkara
case,
skull up there.
that brings us to week 3. Week 2 was a short one. I remember playing it, and I was like, I liked how
Yeah, it
short it
was.
was. I liked that it was just like quick and easy. Week 3 was a little bit longer because the Techians began work on the lodestone, but they need our help. The Aham and so this is Riven talking to us, but they need our help, and so Riven goes on, and I'm gonna get into the theory right now.
Yeah.
Riven goes on about how we're always helping others who can't help themselves, and says perhaps it's the, or she says blah 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 blah, the ahamkara in you, perhaps implying that like ahamkara are also ones who help others who can't help themselves. And then we're instructed to
Hmm.
run a coil to attune the lodestone. And so when she said the ahamkara in you, perhaps, I thought, what if she means it? Like literally.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
knew you
did.
would love this theory. I wasn't sure if
I
you would
thought
get
the
it
same
as
thing.
well. So
Yeah.
years ago, we got the Treasure Island
Yeah.
lore book, the Cade's Journal lore book. In this lore book, on one of the earlier pages here, is scribbles from Cade, where he talks about his time as an exo in the Golden Age. And so this is the earliest information we have on Ahamkara. Not earliest in the game, but earliest timeline wise.
Yeah.
We were there for these Ahamkara, parasitic reptilian critters that appeared out of thin air. Inexplicable genome, new proteins, so much potential. So the earliest thing that we knew about them in terms of timeline is that they're parasitic critters. And
Hmm.
so the very obvious thing is like, oh, well, of course they're parasitic. They feed on our wishes, the aspirations, the dreams, there's the potential energy, stuff like that. But as I was saying, and I hope it actually made it into the episode, because that was where it kind of got cut. Um, I couldn't let go about the fact that a part of the Ahamkara's life cycle is that they die, like seemingly with pleasure of that death, and not
Yep.
just Ahamkara, but like Akka. When RX killed Akka, Akka was pleased in the death,
Yeah.
knowing that
Yeah.
he created this like symbiosis with Oryx. And how many fucking Ahamkara do we have under our belt now? Like it's
Exactly.
not looking good for us. And
Yep.
so I was thinking these creatures don't exist purely in a physical space. I think they exist in both a physical and like a metaphysical. And
Yep.
it's very hard to wrap your heads around that because it's basically just fucking make believe, right? They exist in reality and in make believe at the same time. And so
Yeah.
that makes me think, what if they can't, what if that duality is needed in their birth cycle as well? So they have a physical egg and they have like a parasitic connection. So it's like, so while the egg is physically there, what if it's like it's like actually I don't want to go so far as to say like chest bursters from fucking aliens,
Yeah, yeah, aliens,
but
yeah.
like what if it's kind of like that? Like the Ahamkara is technically feeding on this unborn Ahamkara is feeding on us from the inside right now. And so
Absolutely.
I brought this up with my clan, and they said, obviously, parasitic could very easily mean that they're feeding on our ambitions. And so my clanmate Dan said, and I countered it and said how, like, while they're eating a metaphysical source, they're doing it from actions of a physical. So I'm thinking, how do you incubate something that exists in physicality as well as metaphysicality? And he had said, in the mind of the physical being while it's still alive.
No.
Right?
That's good.
Right? How fucking great is that? In the mind of the physical being while it's still alive. And
That's
so
really good.
Riven's planting her eggs in her metaphysical eggs in our heads right now.
Dude, that's really good.
Right? So she created a desire in our minds since she can't manifest her own. And now her powers can manifest her eggs based on our thoughts and desires.
Oh, this is so
That's what he
good.
said. So that's how they propagate parasistically. They
Yeah.
parasitize our thoughts to get what they want by planting their ability to procreate in the mind of a sentient being that can
Oh,
be goaded into wanting the eggs to be real and
that's
hatch.
so good. That's
So
so good.
Riven's like, haha, I've actually had many eggs this whole time, and you need to find them. And guess what? They're not there. But I want them to be
That's
there. I need them to be there.
and now they're
Now they
there.
are,
Yeah. Holy
right?
crap. That's
How great
good.
is
I
that?
love this. That's
I
so
love that.
good.
That's my clanmate
Bravo.
Dan there putting it into much better words than I had. I had like
That is so
that
good.
half a thought of like, I know I'm there. I know I'm there, and he's just like, I got it.
I love it.
It's
Dude, that's
great,
so
right?
good. Yeah. Because we thought we killed all the eggs. We thought we got
Yep.
rid of all the eggs. We thought, we willed them out of existence, and now we're willing them back into
Yep.
existence.
We are
Oh,
wishing for those
dude.
fucking eggs. We were played, and that actually
Yeah.
kind of wraps back to week one, where she's being all upset about how
Yep.
like who's really causing these eggs to be on the ley lines, and it's like she was. She's literally
Yep.
telling us to doubt Mara because they were never there in the first place. And
Damn.
going through the notes at the end of week 2, she goes, I knew from the first moment I set eyes on a light bearer that your kind would change everything for the Ahamkara. Whatever's next, I think it is going to be like aliens. For those who don't know, the Xenomorph, it's a parasitic creature that will, its life cycle involves planting an egg, laying an egg that
In a host.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, they lay the egg, the
Oh
physical
yeah, they
egg,
lay the
and
egg.
then the face
Chest
hugger.
burster.
Well,
Yeah,
the
face
face hugger
hugger
comes out of the egg, and it plants an
plants a
egg
seed.
into a physical host, and the inside the host will now adopt some of their attributes. So,
Yep.
like the aliens that first planted the egg that implanted in humans to the xenomorphs that we know were different. So like you put it in a human, you get something different. You put it in a dog, you get it something different. You put it in a this or that, you get something different. So here's Riven going, ooh, I'm gonna put some eggs in a light bearer and see what
Yep.
happens.
What happens? Holy shite.
Right?
Yes. Holy
Oh, I'm so
shite.
excited. Oh, it's been so long since I've had a theory that I've just been like shaking with excitement for. And
Yeah.
this is it.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
So
Wow, I
let's
never
continue
thought of
on
it
with the
that way.
week. Run a coil. I ran a coil that went on for 40 fucking minutes. It's a fun activity, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
too
just
long.
like, guys, can we die? Can we just not anymore, please? Like, I need to get out of here. I got things to do. What the fuck? You run the coil, you attune the lodestone, you have your hollow projector with Petra. We did invaluable work. Now Mara can speak to the last harbinger to guide the eggs back. We're sent on the quest to clear the area for her communion. And so this is why I said we're actually getting the story reskinned, because we're just doing the curse cycle quest, the Oracle engine, where you go to the Spire
Yeah,
of
over
Curious,
again.
and it's just
Yeah,
like, all right, I guess.
yeah. Gee, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Um and so then we have the mission Enthymeme. Enthymeme. Do you know how to
A-
pronounce that? Enthymeme?
Anthememe
Yeah. Enthymeme? That's probably it. Enthymeme.
and a theme.
Yeah, Anthem and the theme, Enthymeme. That's probably fucking it. In this
Yep.
mission, Riven mocks Crow a bunch because of his forsaken mistakes. Basically just rubbing his nose in it,
Yeah.
which is pretty fucked up. Um and we witness an encounter with Mara and Crow, and this was actually a very touching encounter. Mara apologizes for Riven being a dick to Crow, and Crow talks about how strong his connection was and still is with Mara. Crow calls Mara his sister, and Mara relates it to the Ager and Rhaega story that we learned maybe like a year ago now. The Ager scepter trace rifle
Yeah.
we got from it,
Yeah.
and Crow says, "We stood together as the world collapsed around us," and Mara said, "And we'll stand together again." Talking about how when they were literally floating in space together as the witness came in, causing the collapse, and Mara told the witness, "Fuck you, we're not a part of this." And he said, or it said, "All right, sure," and gave them the distributary.
Yep.
So
Good stuff.
that was cool. Uh, we have our holoprojector with Osiris, and Osiris is still struggling to utilize the veil, uh, but struggles as it changes based on the consciousnesses connected to it. So basically, you have all these people like dreaming and having like emotions and stuff, like all the like
Hmm.
brain waves, and because of that, the veil is never exactly the same. So he doesn't really have a way to study it, and he doesn't think that we could replicate what the witness did, and says Riven may be our only option.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
go back to Riven, and Riven talks about how often humans want to connect to each other and how Ahamkara are more solitary, uh, they more focused on eating. Like their whole objective is just to continue eating, 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 unless attracted by a mate. And so that's something that given what we were just talking about makes me wonder: did Riven have a mate to have these eggs? Was Riven's mate a fellow Ahamkara? Or is mate kind of just like her playing with words with us? And it's like, was
Yeah.
her mate a light bearer? Are we her mate effectively? Because
That's
we
a
are the
that's
one,
a good idea.
you
Yeah.
know? Because you say that you go from wanting to eat to wanting to mate, but you don't want to connect to other Ahamkara, and she literally says how they're solitary.
Yep.
So that can go one of two ways. She goes on to say if they were more united, they might have survived the Great Hunt. And then lastly, we have our radio with Petra, where Petra calls out to Osiris to ask about the strand, and kind of confronts Osiris, saying like, "You can wield strand, can't you?" And Osiris is like, "Oh my god, how did you know that?" Uh, Petra talks about her past, how she went to become a Techian but ended up dropping out, and then became a Corsair when the wolves revolted, and how she wants to become better and do more than just react. So
Yeah.
she seems to want to wield Strand, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Could be. I mean, she has some cool abilities already, so
She
why not?
does, yeah, and I would love to see. I would love to see given the surroundings of like stasis and strand and how like pretty much anyone can use them. I'd love to see people just being like, all right, I'm gonna pick up fucking strand, I'm gonna pick up stasis, and I'm not a guardian, but like I'm gonna have tools to fight with on like a level
Yeah.
playing field.
Good stuff.
Very, very good. I do want to say thank you again to my clanmate Dan for really locking in that theory for me, because it felt like the type of thing where I was like, I like it, but I'm not sure it's there yet. And with the words that Dan added to it, it's absolutely fucking locked it in.
It was so good. I loved it.
Well, so that's going to be it for us this week. It's hard to keep track since we had to restart the show because I usually look at the time, but I'm a little confused on it now. In any case, our next episode will be on Sunday the 31st. And so you will not see us over this Christmas break. So I just want to say what else is happening, because there's Christmas on the 25th. There's Festivus on the 23rd. It's currently Saturnalia. So happy Saturnalia.
I think it'll be fine.
Wait, what?
No, I was looking at the calendar.
Oh, no, I was just trying to say, like, I was just trying to because Hanukkah's over. So happy belated Hanukkah.
Yep. Happy holidays
Uh
in general.
yeah. Saying happy holidays is lazy. You should just say the holiday it currently is. Happy Saturnalia. Tell me happy Saturnalia.
Happy Novemberitude. Oh wait, that's over. Happy
Novemberitude.
Decemberitude.
Was that a thing?
Decemberitude.
Novemberitude? I don't know that one.
I think you're supposed to celebrate it a month after.
Novemberitude. That's not a thing. You just made me Google something that literally doesn't exist. I've never. Do you know how hard it is to get 0 results?
That's funny, dude. Now you'll have one. Keep messing the algorithm up. There's a 13th month that we're just all glossing over anyway.
If you say so. In any case, have a good one, everybody. If you came in late and you want to listen to the show, it's going to be where it always is. Find us on Twitter at Loose Canon Show. If you need more, that'll be it. We'll see you on the 31st.
Bye.
Bye.